Hey everyone, I'm a little disturbed right now, but I feel I have to do a video response or just a video kind of talking about this person's blog that I came across. The backstory of this is that I'm in contact with a woman who recently got a very weird message from another feminist blogger basically saying that this trans man named Xander Sarkisova had posted their home and work address on this feminist blog and had said some rather hateful, threatening things to her. The thing, though, was that this feminist had looked up where the IP address had come from and found that it was actually coming from a mental health clinic. So that's where this Xander Sarkisova works, and that means that Xander was actually sending hateful, threatening messages to this lesbian mother on his work schedule, or at work. I don't know about you, but if anybody I know pulled that shit at work, they'd be canned. Especially if they're a mental health therapist or counselor or whatever. It's really kind of disturbing that somebody would send that. But, you know, if you're going to do it, like, at least be smart about it. I mean, this guy's like 33 years old. One would think that Xander could figure out how to appropriately threaten people online, right? What this lesbian feminist was responding to was a blog post from Xander. And she could, like many women who read this, found a lot of problems with the last bit of information about what transphobia looked like in relationships. I'm going to read it to you so you get kind of a backdrop about what this woman was responding to. Xander had, well, let me just read it. So, number 10 on the list. Refusing to date trans women, especially those who identify with having cocks or who haven't had bottom surgery, particularly if you identify as lesbian. Alright, so that's transphobic, apparently. And especially if you're a lesbian. I mean, why not especially if you're a straight man? Why is it lesbians that make it like there's something particularly insidious about it if you're a lesbian? What is wrong with this? Tying your refusal to date trans women with your lesbian identity reifies your inability to see trans women for who they truly are. It denigrates their identity and presentation and signals your perception that they are less than women. They put less than in quotations. I don't understand that because it doesn't necessarily mean that they see them as less than women. They just see them as different than women. And they are. I mean, there is a difference between a constructed, surgically constructed pussy and a regular one. There is. And if you're oriented towards female-bodied people, that's what you're into. Furthermore, let me read on. This is actually where it gets very disturbing. Furthermore, if you are into rubber cocks and penetration, yet you refuse to date trans women with cocks, penises, or pussies that are different from yours, you are arbitrarily discriminating against these women based on their transness or transsexuality. I found this part really disturbing because this is a mental health counselor saying that if you like being penetrated by your lesbian partners, that you need to let yourself be penetrated by a penis. I mean, there's a big difference between a dildo and a penis, and there's a whole slew of risks that comes involved with having sex with penises. I mean, you have to worry about birth control, all of these other aspects, and not only that, but like diseases are much more easily spread. I mean, like, the list goes on, and this is not something that lesbians generally deal with. They're not really prepared for that kind of thing in terms of that. I want to say just, and a penis is different. I mean, rubber cock is more, like, there's just a whole slew of it. And, your partner, your lesbian partner penetrating you is a lot different than a man or a male-bodied person penetrating you. It's not what you're oriented to. And is that understandable? Now, there are people who are more fluid than others, but, you know, why should lesbians have their sexuality basically shit upon this way? It's not right. And why are they being singled out? Let me read on. Start to deconstruct some of your trans misogyny and how your behavior is not tied to a lack of desire, but rather your unwillingness to validate trans female realness. I think that's pretty disturbing on itself too, because it posits that, you know, if you don't want to fuck a male-bodied person or you don't want to have sex with someone with a penis, that it's just because you're a bigot, really. And it's just because your desires aren't actually natural or real. Why are lesbian women having to, like, be singled out and put up to this kind of, like, weird standard? Or, like, why is lesbian sexuality suddenly seen as something that males should have access to? Because if you don't, like, fuck a penis, then you're a bigot? I really don't appreciate it. Like, it's really disturbing to read. It has all these corrective rape undertones to it. And I can see why a lot of lesbians found it offensive. I mean, being oriented towards female-bodied people is a lot different. I mean, a pussy and a dick are different. You know, you can wrap it up in all this kind of, like, you know, liberal rhetoric about how really we're all pink on the inside. But, I mean, like, you know, it's, in reality, lesbians are attracted to females. They like female bodies. They desire them. And this is, like, some kind of lesbian shaming shit. And it also, like, just kind of has this whole undertone of, like, lesbians need to be sexually available to males. Like, no. Whatever. So, obviously there were a lot of problems with this, and this one woman wasn't the only person to respond, but this guy decided from his work IP to send that hateful message to another feminist blogger, thinking it was her. Whoops. So no doubt this person has gotten some shit for it, and decided to post a blog. I'm going to read from this blog now and just kind of respond to it, because I think it's a perfect example of someone having a serious victim mentality and not being very willing to own what they've done, and also to kind of, like, it's really creepy actually, so I'm just going to, you know, respond to it. God, I'm qualifying everything tonight. Recently, my posts have become targeted by a small, vocal minority of right-wing, conservative, lesbian-identified hate-mongers. Well, they're not right-wing or conservative or hate-mongers. You know, they just didn't appreciate you telling them that, you know, lesbians need to take a dick up them to not be bigots. And they didn't really appreciate you, like, sending one of them, like, hateful, threatening messages. They appear to have come across my writing on transphobia in relationships, which was republished on The Scavenger, an online alternative news source. Apparently, my ideas considering what transphobia looks like are so threatening to them. No, it's not really threatening, it's just abusive to them. That they have taken to spreading my name with tags, calling me a tranny, rapist, sex offender, ex-lesbian, misgendering me, and seeking to attack my person, counseling practice, and place of employment. You know, this is right where the victim mentality comes in right here. You were the one who attacked your counseling practice and place of employment by sending hate mail with threatening undertones and with a person's personal information while you were at work, stupid, okay? I mean, how much of a moron are you? You're 33 years old. You know, I mean, fuck off with that bullshit. You were the one who did that to yourself. They're not threatening they're not attacking you or your place of employment. You were the one who did that with your behavior. You're 33 years old. Take responsibility for your own shit. dickweed. I will never understand how anyone could have the time or energy to spread defamation, violence, or hate to this degree, especially individuals within the queer community. Well, that's you, and you did that, so I don't understand it either. And then why are you acting like it wasn't you? Like it was them? You're the one who sent hate mail with threatening undertones to a lesbian mother, right? You posted her home address where her children live, putting her children in danger, her family. What kind of fucking asshole are you? Furthermore, while being obviously abusive, hateful, and transphobic, calling trans people, historically it has been trans women, rapists, and sex offenders by virtue of our being trans, diminishes the real lived experience of sexual abuse survivors. It is simply disgusting and deeply demeaning of such experiences. Now, they were complaining about the undertones of your article, which basically had corrective rape themes in them. Basically, you're saying that women need to have sex beyond their own desires. Basically, women need to have sex that they don't desire. Now, that is kind of, very rapey. Why should females have to have sex they don't desire? They shouldn't. You were the one who posited that they should. And it kind of makes trans women look bad. And thankfully, there was a trans female or trans woman blogger that responded to this and said that they didn't appreciate this Xander, whatever, his post, because it really did make trans women look bad, and, that's not really what they're about. They're not about making lesbians, fuck them when they don't want to. What we should be fighting for is the right for all individuals, however they identify, to express themselves and love and live how they want safely. Yeah, I think that's what these women, these lesbian women, want as well. They would like to express themselves and love and live how they want safely. But you're basically saying that their natural desires and inclinations towards other females are bigoted. Okay, you're the one who is positing that they need to change around their own sexual desires to please others, which is what women have been having to do since patriarchy began, since time immemorial, if you will. Fuck that. Body parts and gender are not the issues. Threatening, violent, hate-filled behavior that attacks people is. And the violence affecting trans people, myself included, speaks to that. Again, victimizing the self when this person is actually the one sending threatening, violent, hate-filled messages towards a lesbian woman and putting her personal info out there for any creepy fuck to find. I mean, who do you think you are, thinking that you can posit that you're the victim here when you did that to someone else? In the queer community. Meh. So live your life how you see fit and let others do the same. Right. No one is forcing you to do anything except consider expanding your consciousness and respecting others, which can be accomplished through respectful, thoughtful, inquisitive dialogue. Well, isn't that nice, PC, and liberal? Okay, asshole, let me posit this to you. How about you consider expanding your consciousness to understand that there are women out there who are oriented towards other females, and they want to have sex with other females, and that you shouldn't shame them or call them bigoted if they don't want to have sex with a dick, alright? How about you expand your consciousness to fit that, fuckhead? And how about you respect their right to do that instead of shaming them and having this kind of abusive bullshit in it? And how about you expand your consciousness and realize that you shouldn't post hateful, threatening messages to people from your work IP? And how about you respect others and just not engage in that behavior at all? Okay, Xander, your fucking fake name sucks, by the way. Okay, I mean, God. That's all I really had to say, I guess. I mean, people like Xander are a dime a dozen, but it really, I think, speaks to the amount of acceptability of homophobia, amongst people, and the fact that female sexuality just really isn't accepted unless it's there for male consumption. How about no? And how about you stop wrapping it up in like this PC like trans rights, language, when really you're just about like railroading females into having sex they don't want to have, because that's what you're doing.